Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of The New Normal with me, Chantelle, and Lee. So, what we got going on today?
So UFC 270 just wrapped up yesterday.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the co-main event and the main event.
Okay.
You go first. What did you think?
Well, for the co-main event, Moreno was pretty confident in the first few rounds. I was not expecting that. His fight is pretty awkward to me to watch, but he's also really interesting because he keeps moving around. And how do they say his name on TV? Figuerdo? I say Figuerdo. I don't know. I kind of like it that way. Figuerdo. He's kind of interesting too, but I thought that he could have done better in terms of like showmanship because I felt like he didn't do much. He's not like his usual self, you know?
Okay.
So, and then, well, we'll talk about co-main event first.
No, go. Main event.
Main event with Ngannou. I don't know. Like, I like Ngannou, but I also like Gon. Like, I watched his previous fights before, and he looked more dynamic than Ngannou. These heavier guys are harder to watch for me, but I think he did okay. Like, it's not his usual fight because they're on the ground, and the grappling stuff with big guys I'm not a fan of because they're so big. They're not like they don't look that nice to watch, you know?
Mm.
I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks this though, but that's why I like watching like the lighter guys like Moreno, like I don't know who else.
Adesanya.
Yeah, like Adesanya, but Adesanya is like he's taller too. So like yeah, but yeah, he's more functional.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna go into the technical fight stuff because there's plenty of channels that break that down. But I
Yeah.
would point out one observation I made, I think it's pretty interesting, is both the co-main and the main event have a very strong resemblance with each other. Is both the winner, Figueiredo and Francis Ngannou, they were both of them were older, and both of them were known for the knockouts.
Yeah.
But then both of them won on the night because of their improved wrestling.
That's true. Like they were on the ground. Well, no, not really, actually. Moreno didn't really have Figueredo on the ground.
No, but and on their second fight, he got choked out.
Oh, okay.
But this fight, he didn't get choked out whatsoever, and he mixed up his striking with the wrestling. That's how he won.
Yeah, that's what you mean.
Yeah, because of his improved wrestling, he won.
Yeah.
And that's is very interesting to me because both of them have been knocking people out their whole career. But then this last fight, they switch it up. And also, both of them switch camp, a training camp. They learn something new from a different group of people.
Actually didn't know that. I didn't watch the embedded for these ones.
Yeah, and to me, that's very interesting to show you when people say, "Oh, you're too old to change. You can't teach old dog new trick." I think that's in the past. Nowadays, you got to change. You got to adapt, no matter how well your thing is working, and you know how old you think you are, how you think you cannot change. The world is changing so fast. If you don't change with it, you're gonna lose.
Yeah. Well, in terms of survival, I think that makes sense because if they continued the way that they used to fight, I think that the upcoming guys would probably take over because it's
Yeah.
different, like all the angles are different.
Yeah, but not only that, but they went on to their opposite side, like how Francis Ngannou lost last time to Stipe Miocic is by wrestling. He got out wrestled, he lost. Davison Figueiredo lost to Brandon Moreno with wrestling. He got choked out. But
Yeah.
now they turn it around. They switch camp. They learn new skill. They improve their wrestling, and they use their weakness as their strength this time and won.
Hmm.
I think that's going to be a big theme of this episode of the podcast is change. It's very
Yeah.
interesting. So that leads me to the next topic, vaccine. So you got your third shot.
Yeah. The
Tell us,
booster.
yeah, tell us why you got it and what was your experience like?
Well, I got it mainly because I don't know like why I keep getting sick nowadays. And I never got sick when this was like COVID was at the height of it. Like I never got sick. And now I think it's because of my heightened senses of how I'm feeling. And even if I just have like a headache, I'm like, oh shit, is this COVID? Like I'd rather be safe than sorry type of thing. So that's why I just took it, and like my experience has been so painful. Like the first two shots I got, no, seriously, like the first two shots that I got, I probably didn't feel even half as bad as this one. This one just wiped me out. Like I wasn't expecting it because then the first two, I was like, oh, I wasn't that bad. I just had a sore arm. I was just really tired and wanted to sleep the whole day. But this time, like, not only did I have a sore arm, not only was I fatigued and wanted to sleep the whole day, I had piercing headaches. Like it would come and go. It's like right at the like front of my like head. And I never felt like a pain like that in a long time. And I felt nauseous too, actually, which is weird because I never really feel nauseous when I'm sick like that or when I have a flu. It's mainly that I'm like have a fever and stuff, but I didn't get a fever. So I think that was an extremely interesting experience because I thought I feel good, and then after a few hours or after like half an hour or something, I would not feel good again. So it's tough to deal with because you don't know what to expect. Or at least that's how I reacted to the booster this time around. And I got Moderna too, because they ask you, what do you want, Pfizer or Moderna? So I chose Moderna because the last two I got was Moderna. But also I felt better getting Moderna because they said the efficacy on Moderna was like 33% higher or something like that. I don't know stats entirely, but like I think that's the number. If not, someone fact check me. I like
If you've gotten the Omicron, do you think it would have been worse than your side effects from the booster or better?
I think if I had Omicron, then it would be slightly lighter symptoms.
So
I think, I don't
you
know, knock
think
on wood. I don't want to be getting anything,
so you
but
think it's worth it to get the booster then?
I think so. I mean, like, I'm not against like vaccine or whatever. Yeah, sure, we don't know how it's going to react in the next 5 to 10 years, but I don't think that's a concern right now. Like, I'd rather not die right now, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's another thing I noticed with the vaccine that's related to change
Yeah.
is that people have this in software industry they call it stickiness. Like if you use a certain software, how easy is it to get you to switch to a different software? If
Hmm.
if you will never switch, they call it very sticky. I think there's a
Is that
stick.
actually a term?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay.
how sticky is your software
Hmm.
or how sticky is your product? And I think there's a stickiness to people's thoughts. When you think of something, especially the longer you believe in it, the harder it is for you to switch your thoughts, no matter how clear the logic is. And
Yeah.
and I've seen it from the the whole COVID, and I've seen it from the vaccine. When the COVID happened, I was the first one in line to advocate for masks for people to stay inside because I witnessed firsthand in China how crazy this thing could have been. And there was no evidence, no data showing what it is. So I think it's better for people to be careful like, and then figure it out before they become reckless. And then nobody cared. Everybody I told don't listen. And
You
because
can imply something.
no,
Yeah. Yeah.
well, in general, the whole world didn't care. If you look at US, you look at what the president was saying, you look at, even the health organizations, not organization, what's it called? the NHS or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. So there was no mask mandate. The government was saying masks don't work because in the past, however many years, 50 years, 80 years, people never wear masks. People never stay inside. So they're not used to it. The thought of that is so sticky. It's difficult for them to change.
Well, even me in the beginning, when you were telling me, like I wasn't informed. And then when you were telling me, my mom told me actually before you told me, or around the same time that you told me to wear a mask when I'm on the train. And I was like, a mask? No, like that's so weird. Like, I feel like only in Asia, because of the SARS thing, that people wear masks to wear masks, like to keep safe type of thing. And I'm like, no, there's no way like that this could be that bad in here. And so I listened anyways because I got really sick January 2020 and I didn't want to get sick again. So I'm like, okay, like maybe I should just listen. I really don't want to get sick the way that I got sick before, but it was so awkward wearing a mask. Like it just felt, yeah, it was just not normal.
Yeah, and that's my point. The thought is sticky, even though there's
Yeah.
evidence showing there might be a pandemic happening. People
Yeah.
wouldn't want to do it until 6 months later. But what's more interesting is, in contrast, now 6 months ago, there's enough evidence being collected in the past 2 years to show that masks don't really work. But now it's stick to people so hardcore. The people who refuse to wear masks in the beginning now is telling everybody to wear a mask.
Yeah, but I think part of it is herd mentality too. Because if you just see one person wearing a mask, or like, oh, they're the weird ones, you know. But when more people start to wear masks, like, oh, it's actually this is the regular now. This is the normal thing that we're gonna go through, and we're all going through it together, kind of thing. So, I mean, it's just a monkey see, monkey do.
And the vaccine, people don't even see other people getting vaccine or not. In the
Yeah.
beginning, everybody was afraid of it. They're like, oh, the government rushed this. It's not safe. And they don't know the long-term effects. I was the first one because I read all the data. So I was the first one in line to get the vaccine. But now after 2 shots, they're saying it doesn't work. They want to give me third and fourth. I don't, I don't want to get it anymore. But then people like you who think, oh, 2 shots don't work, I just get a third. Like like in the beginning, it's so ingrained in people that you shouldn't get anything into your body. So people refuse to get it. But now once they accept it, it's so ingrained that this thing works. No matter what new data comes out, they still believe it works.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't know if it actually works, you know, like I
Yeah,
just know because I've gotten sick still after taking the shot. Like
just
a
to be,
normal cold, normal, you know, cough, not exactly a flu, but like the common cold. I
or
got
just
that.
yeah, just to be clear, I'm not anti-vax. I'm not discouraging anybody from getting the booster, but I'm just pointing out how it's very interesting how people swing from one side of the thinking to all the way to the other side
Mhm.
instead of just mostly stay in the middle. It's like, oh, the vaccine, it come out, but not enough evidence, but it's probably safe. And they go to like, they like, instead of being in the middle, they are like all the way to, the government try to mind control people to now it's like, if you don't get it, you're gonna die.
Nah, not necessarily. I mean, I get it because I don't know what's gonna happen. I know that I took the first two and then I didn't get affected so crazily by it. So what's the harm in taking a third one? Like I don't know. Clear like to be
Yeah.
clear, like I actually don't really know, but I just take it because I'm just like, well, if it's doesn't hurt me either way, might as well. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm not challenging you on this in particular. I'm just saying like in general, overall,
yeah.
people's shifting of minds. And no matter which side they're on, when they're challenged, it's so difficult for people to change their mind. That's my whole point. Very
Would you
interesting.
get it though?
No.
You're hard set on a no, or you're hard set on it's because it's gonna wipe you out the way it wiped you out the second time. You're just
Uh,
scared.
well, no, it's mostly because if they came out with a new, modified version, and they're saying, oh, we tailor this for Omicron, and if you get it, that's it, because we modify it and this is the last batch, then I might consider it. But if they're just saying the first two didn't work, we're going to continue to give you more of what didn't work. And the first two didn't work because it changed to Omicron. And we're just going to continue. We're not going to modify. We'll just continue giving you the old things that didn't work. It doesn't make much sense to me, and it doesn't really reduce the cases. Like if you look at America, 70% of people got at least 2 shots, and they're getting 1 million cases a day. Then it's not really preventing any cases. The best thing is doing is preventing death. But 2 shots is enough to prevent death. As far as I've seen, I haven't seen data showing that getting 3 shots is better than 2 shots at preventing death, especially for people our age, healthy, don't have any morbidities. I've seen the data, which is not complete, but then there's a research showing
Are these
that
peer-reviewed?
Well, I've heard it from credible sources.
Credible sources need to be peer-reviewed, scholarly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there's a lot of contradictory peer-reviewed evidence too. But from what I've seen, though, is there's a new research showing 75% of deaths came from people with at least 4 comorbidities. So if you're young, fit, healthy, and you got 2 shots already, I don't think a 3rd shot would change much. Although it probably wouldn't harm you. So for the people who get it thinking, if it helped me, good. If it doesn't, at least it doesn't harm me anyway. So there's no cost, then I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, but for me, I don't see, especially if they come out with a modified version that's tailor-made for Omicron in 3 months, what are you going to do? Get the 4th shot?
Yeah.
I just want to wait until I can see, okay, this is the final shot I need to get, rather than just keep getting more and more shots along the way, hoping that it will work.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, is if it research in a few months or in a few weeks come out saying that, oh, actually the 3rd booster shot is good enough, or not even good enough, but is a game changer on your decision making on whether or not you should receive the booster or not. Would that swing your decision?
Yeah, if it's clear evidence. If they're showing people who took 2 shots, are 10 times more likely to die than people who took 3 shots, then I will get it.
Yeah, well, you know what they say, 3rd time's the charm, so.
But the logic doesn't stand, because how can 2 shots don't work at all, and then 3rd shot, the exact same shot, it works so much better. Yeah. Like what they were saying originally was 1 shot is good enough, 2 shots is just to make sure type of thing. Now they're saying 2 shots don't even work. You have to get a 3rd shot. When does it end?
Yeah. Well, we can't be continuing to take shots like this every 6 months. I don't think it's sustainable for either the government, for us, and my freaking left arm that's gonna fall off. I don't think it's gonna work.
Yeah, I'm not against anybody from taking the shot. It just the way the government is doing it make me feel like kind of like the end of the year sale. Like how the clothing stores.
For one who doesn't shop, I'm surprised you know what the year end sale is.
Yeah, I'm a businessman. I know business.
Okay.
You know how clothing stores, they were gonna switch to new merchandise next year because the fashion is gonna shift. They just try to push it on you, give you a discount, do everything they can to get you buy the current one, because they want to clear.
They do that every season.
Yeah, they want to clear the inventory, so they switch to the next season stuff. Yeah. That's how I kind of feel with the 3rd shot. They want to clear the inventory so they can sell the modified version of vaccine next season.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's all business. It's not personal. It's all business.
Well, I just wonder how much profit these pharmaceutical companies are making actually.
Pfizer and Moderna are public companies. You can actually look it up, but
Whew.
it's in the upwards of billions.
Well, might as well start investing now. Oh, actually, I missed the wave. I missed the wave.
Yeah, they've gone up like I don't know 800% or something in the past couple of years.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy. Some
I didn't even
craziness.
I didn't even think to look them up for some reason.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next topic. Again, it's related to change. This is a story I heard a YouTuber called Tom Nash told. He was interviewed by Dave Lee and he told this
Who's
story.
Tom Nash?
Hmm?
Who's Tom Nash?
So he's a YouTuber who is now currently doing essentially analysis of stocks.
Mhm.
And he's from Russia. He moved to America when he was like 9 or 10. And
Nash don't sound Russian.
I
Are
don't
you
know.
sure he didn't move to Russia? Russia? He came
No,
back from Russia.
no, he was from Russia.
He's Russian.
Yeah, he has a Russian accent. He speaks Russian.
Okay, just because you have a Russian accent don't mean
Well, I have a Russian accent.
so you have a Chinese accent. That's pretty bad.
I'm ambiguous.
Okay.
But anyways, so he told the story of how he started YouTube. And I think it's very interesting to me. And I relate a lot.
Yeah.
So David Lee asked him, how did you start YouTube? And he said he graduated in Russia with undergrad and he came over to US. He got a law degree. So he's highly educated. And he was working in one of the big four companies. What's the big four?
What do you mean in Canada?
No, PwC. I only know PwC.
Deloitte.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's okay. Anyways, it's just one of the biggest four accounting firms in the world. And he was a director there. He worked his way up there. And one day, he was going to take his wife and 3 kids to watch a show in Las Vegas or something. It was all pre-planned, scheduled. He's told the company agrees. And the day before, his boss came over to him and said, you cannot go. Something happened in the company, you have to stay. This is very important. And he essentially had a big argument. And he was like, what do you mean? It's all planned. My kids are crying on the train on their way here. I gotta go. And they have a big fight. And he ended up going. And when he came back to the firm, his boss didn't say anything, but he felt so powerless on that day. He decided to quit. He didn't tell anybody yet, but on that day, he decided to himself, I'm going to quit. I cannot keep living and working in a place like this.
Mm-hmm.
I have no freedom. They don't care about me or my family or my well-being, even though it's pre-planned. They just hold you down and tell you to do whatever they want for their profit.
Yeah, because like why do big companies like this pay you big money? They pay you because of that, because they can do anything like this.
Well, the crazy part is he said he's quit his job now as a director at the Big Four, and he's just doing YouTube. And he's making more money on YouTube now than when he was a director.
Jeez.
So it wasn't big money. Maybe it's a big money in the corporate world, but relative to, what you could be doing in this new world, it's not big money. And that's how I feel. That's the reason why I want to invest in stocks, the reason why I want to be on YouTube, the reason why I want to encourage everyone to look at all of your options, change along with the world, is because I think this is going to be the new normal. The new normal is everybody, trying to create value. It's all going to be decentralized. It's not going to be one person making all the decision, having all the power. It's everybody creating value, and you get paid what you're worth.
In a way, yes, because there are people who aren't made for corporate, or who aren't made to have an employer. Like, I know this, but there's also people who are made to be working under people and who need to be told what to do. So I think it's true, like there should be people who recognize what their strengths and weaknesses are to either start their own thing or continue, being an entrepreneur within their corporation or within their organization. But like it all depends on how well they know themselves.
Yes, but if before, the option is not there, the option for you to just invest in things is not there. The option of you being on YouTube, a big platform like this, didn't exist. When the option was not there, the corporation didn't have a pressure on them to treat their employees well. Not everybody has to quit their job, but just like back in the day, if you work in a factory and the working condition is bad, you could die any second, but then you still don't have a choice but to work there. But if there's opportunities open up, factory workers could go out and start their own factory and whatever. The factories will have to make sure to improve the quality of the factory and to have a safe environment for the workers. Otherwise, the workers will all leave and choose the better option. I'm not saying everybody should quit their job, but I'm saying if you don't have options, you don't have other opportunities, the corporate is going to have all the leverage and they're going to squeeze you dry. They're going to do whatever they want to you. You don't have a choice.
Yeah, that's hard. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's hard to be backed in a corner and feel like you can't do anything. But I mean, that's why sometimes that's where side hustles start.
Yeah, imagine you creating a startup remotely was never an option, then companies will never tolerate you to work remotely. No matter how much sense it makes, no matter how good it fits your lifestyle, how much more productive you'll be, whatever. If you just think back maybe 3 years ago, companies will require you to be at the office no matter what, no matter if there's a reason or not. But now, because there's so many people making a path, making money on their own remotely, the companies are seeing this and they allow their employees to work remotely now because it takes the leverage away from them.
Yes and no. I think it depends on the environment. I think that like some places want you to work from home just to save themselves, because first they don't want to take the liability of someone getting sick and then infecting everyone else. And then secondly, they don't want like their workers to just leave because they don't want to get sick either. So that's why they created the environment in a way where you can work from home, because it also takes a lot for a company to support working from home, like all the technology that they need, all the IT support that they need. Like some companies don't even have IT support, but they had to get IT support in order for their business to keep running. So I think from a more selfish point of view, they do that, not because they care about their employees.
It's because their hands are forced.
I guess it depends on the business. It's not necessarily forced, I don't think.
No. If you're equally competitive, you're Apple, and you're competing your talent against Google. Google allow you to work remote. All the top talent is gonna go to Google, and then you're gonna lose. Like the most important asset to a company is their talent.
Yeah, so that's why I said depends on the industry. For tech industry, highly makes sense. Like there are industries like that where you can completely work from home and you don't need to be in the office.
Well, I'm not talking about specifically working from home. I'm just talking about making a change and seriously considering the options. Before they didn't have to. Like another
Mm.
example is a restaurant now. Every restaurant has to consider takeout options now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Before they didn't consider it, not because it's a bad option for them, it's because they didn't need to.
Yeah.
Why do I have to? What I'm doing is working. I don't care.
Yeah, but this is the same discussion as being able to survive, similar to UFC. Like things need to become different or innovative, or in order for the entity to survive.
Yes, that's exactly my point. It's in this world, the world is changing, and everybody who will change along with it is gonna come out on top. And these people who are changing fast, changing for the better, are also forcing the other half who don't want to change for the better. You know, the half of the company
Yeah.
that decide, oh, we're going to make remote the most efficient way. They force the other half who don't want to be remote to improve along with it, just to be competitive.
Well, it's just challenging how hard-headed people are to change or not to change, really, because those who are hard-headed, don't matter what innovative thing or what the logic is, if they really want to stay true to their core, they're gonna stay like that, and they're gonna end up learning the hard way. So,
Exactly. It's every once a while, there's a crisis that comes along and to wipe out a bunch of people. That's the negative side. But then the positive side is after a crisis, people always change. They always adapt and change for the better.
yeah.
And that's one of the concept of the new normal is we want to take away the negative side. We don't want to wipe anybody out, but we want to keep the good side of the crisis. We want to be positive and use a positive energy to force people to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like tennis. Can I just talk about tennis, please?
Oh
I've
my.
been dying to talk about
Oh
tennis.
my. Then
Because
okay, go.
like Nick Kyrgios is like an Australian. He really interacts with the crowd, and the crowd interacts with him, and it's a whole riot. And tennis is a gentleman's sport, so like they have all these rules and they play a certain way and all of this stuff. But now that people are being more interactive with the players, and the players being more interactive with the crowd, it changes the game, and some people don't like it because it's too disruptive to the sport. But tennis is a dying sport as it is. So like for those players who know that they need to keep the sport interesting for people to continue watching and to be entertaining, like everyone else has to be on board with this change and to continue what they already have and what they've built for so many years. So I
Yeah.
mean, like change in that way has to happen with one person, whether it is like good or bad or how it's seen from someone else, just as long as it's seen in a more positive light and where they actually know that the impact does something to it.
It's very similar to what's happening with boxing. Boxing is a very old school sport. They
Yeah.
refused to change for the longest time, but they never needed to. Goes to my previous point, is nobody's forcing their hand. But now UFC comes along, they make all the necessary changes to make it more exciting, more fair, and they're taking away all the audience away from boxing. Now boxing is facing a crisis where they either change or they won't survive.
Yeah. But also UFC is more well-rounded sport in terms of like combat sports. Like you have everything in UFC. That's why
But
it's mixed martial arts, right? It's not just boxing, it's not just wrestling, it's not just
but they didn't start out that way. They keep on changing and iterating based on reassessments and feedback to get to where they're at.
well, not just that, they're an entertainment industry, right? And
In the beginning of UFC, there was no time limit, and you can kick the groin. You can
that's
poke.
messed up.
Yeah, you
I
can
do
poke.
not support kicking the groin. All the future kids that need to come, and
Yeah,
we don't
for
want to
for
do
for
that.
anybody who's interested, you can Google. I mean, YouTube UFC 1, UFC 2. There was no weight class. There's 100 pounds guy fighting 300 pounds guys.
Yeah, that's messed up.
They can
That's
kick to the
very dangerous.
groin. They can poke the eyes.
Yikes.
There was no time limit. It was crazy. There was no gloves. You can wear shoes.
Okay, so this was all created for entertainment, yeah?
Yeah.
But now UFC is more of
Professional
trying to
sport.
push the boundaries of one's athleticism.
Well, the whole point is they didn't, if they follow the boxing's model of, oh, this is tradition, we're just gonna hardcore keeping it for no reason, they would never made it this far. The UFC you're seeing today is not the UFC back then. It's not even the UFC 3 years ago. Especially through COVID, they had to make so many changes and iterations. It's like during 2020, the only sport in the world that was on TV was UFC.
Yeah, I'll give Dana White that.
That's
I
so
really
crazy.
give it to him because he found every possible way. Like, I think it was what, 10 people in the octagon? Like, that's crazy to only have 10, including the camera people,
Yeah,
including the like the
and
judges.
people don't know UFC is a very, very small organization compared to NBA and NHL, you know, all of these big ass organizations. And even all of them say, oh, it's impossible to keep the game on. But then Dana White and UFC pushed so hard with so little resources, and they kept the fights on.
Yeah.
That just
Would you
speaks to like how like important it is to push for change, to look for improvement, and then, you know, stop telling yourself it's impossible and just go for it. And look how much UFC has grown because as a result.
But would you say the seed of that is Dana White? Like, Dana White is the mastermind behind all of UFC today.
That's difficult to say. It's just like, you know, yeah, it's just like every company. Steve Jobs was very important to Apple, but without all of those engineers they had, he couldn't have done it. You know, so it's like, who's more important, the engineered iPhone or Steve Jobs, who had a vision and pushed everybody? And it's very difficult to say.
Okay.
But both of them are crucial. Like Dana White is very important, but he's the one who's in front of the camera that you see. But then in the, what do you call it, back screen, there's thousands of employees that are working very hard to make it happen. Yeah.
But that's why I throw Dana White in there, because at the end of the day, he's the decision maker.
Yeah, but he's the one who took on a lot of heat for it. Yeah, he was the one who came out and said, I'm going to push as hard as humanly possible to keep the show going because I refuse to lay any employee off. And through the whole thing, he didn't lay anybody off.
Yeah, that's respectable.
Yeah, he said, either we go down with the ship, everybody lose their job, or we make it happen. Yeah, I don't know if that's a smart business move, but that's ballsy and it paid off. It's crazy.
Well, that's what Dana White's known for. So
yeah, Airbnb during the time they cut off 1/3 of their employee. So every 3 people you knew working there, one of them got fired.
That's so sad.
Yeah, but
yeah, Airbnb is understandable though, because there's not many people traveling at that time, at least during the height of COVID. Now things have eased up a little bit.
Well, everything is understandable. If Dana White said, oh, there's nothing I could do, it's understandable. Just lay off 1/3 of his employees, it's understandable too. I'm not shitting on anybody else who didn't do what he does. I'm just applauding him for doing so much extra. Yeah. Yeah. So now let's go to our last topic, Tesla stock.
Okay, here we go. There's a lot of movement in the market. I've been watching the news, so have at it. Let's see.
Well, I'm not gonna address the market or the stock price. But I just want to say, first of all, I want to remind everybody the Q4 earnings is happening on Wednesday. What is it? 26th, January 26th. And it's earning for Q4 of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody should pay attention to this because of 3 reasons. And 2 short-term reasons and 1 long-term. So one of the short-term reasons is I think it's going to be a blowout quarter, meaning it's going to go past most of the analysts' expectations. It's going to do surprisingly well compared to most people's expectations. And another short-term reason is 2 quarters ago, Elon Musk said, I'm not going to be on the earnings calls anymore unless there's something important I have to say. So last quarter, the third quarter's earnings call, he wasn't on there. But for this earning call, the upcoming earnings call on Wednesday, he will be on there, implying that he has something important to say.
He's announced this?
Yes.
Okay.
He said on Twitter, I'm going to update on the product roadmap on the earnings call. Nobody knows what that means because he always tweets cryptic messages like this. But I think it's interesting to watch out for. It just...
How much you want to bet a new product will be coming out?
The chance is very low because if he would, as far as I've heard, I've never heard any presentation being booked. When they review a new product, usually they do a whole presentation, they show the product and the whole thing, right? Okay. But this one, my guess is he's gonna update more so on like how fast he's gonna produce the current cars, when Cybertrucks are gonna come out, and maybe he will say, oh, in 6 months time, we're going to review a new product or something, but I don't expect him to review the actual product on the earnings call.
No, yeah, not on the earnings call, but there is a lineup coming out soon of some sort.
Yeah, whatever it is, I think it's going to be interesting to follow, and it's not going to be very often he does this because he said he's not going to be on the earnings calls anymore. And he's probably only going to be on there once or at most probably twice a year. So, to be able to listen to a mind like Elon Musk talk about how he thinks about the business and where he's planning to take the company is going to be very interesting, even for people who are not interested in stocks.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any predictions?
For what?
About, what he's going to say and just the call overall. Like, what are you expecting from the call?
Well, I predict, first of all, they're going to announce the earnings. So the revenue, the profit from...
That's a given, Camino.
Yeah, from last quarter. Yeah. And I expect it to be a lot higher, not just a little tiny bit, a lot higher than analysts.
You have a number?
Expect. No, I'm going to review a number.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you watch it and they say, oh, it's in line with analysts' expectations, then I'm wrong.
Mm.
Yeah, but I look at the analysts' numbers, I just think they're too low.
Mm. So that's why way over, but we don't know what your number is. I'm going to be on that call. I think I'm going to be working, but I'm going to, still hop in.
Yeah, it's after market closes, so it's going to be later. But
yeah.
But yeah, I expect everything, every line of item, revenue, profit, even the outlook for this year or next year, going to be higher than analysts' expectations. I still think Tesla is the most misunderstood company in the world.
Do you think you're just biased and you're just a fan, like a fanboy? Or do you actually like you're non-biased making these opinions and comments? Because there are a lot of fanboy cult people out there who are hardcore, like Apple people, for example, or Tesla people. Like,
Yeah.
where do you, how self-aware are you on where you stand on that cult-like following?
Well, there's no point in, claiming whether I'm biased or not, because whether you're biased or not, you're going to say you're not biased.
Okay.
So, but I think I'm going to make my prediction public on this podcast every quarter. And over 2-3 years, if I'm right, then I'm not biased. I'm just right. If I'm wrong, I'm probably just too optimistic. I'm biased. I'm too optimistic about the company. But based on how I feel today, is I think before 2020, before the stock shoot up, maybe under 5% of people understand what Tesla was. And through 2020, 2021, Tesla got very famous. People look into it. Now it's probably 40% of people understand what Tesla is, but there's still a huge gap compared to, let's say, Amazon and Apple and Google. These companies, in the beginning, they were very misunderstood. Like, people didn't know how Amazon was gonna grow, how they're gonna be like, and how they're gonna make money. But today, after maybe 15 years, 20 years, it becomes pretty clear. People understand Amazon, Google, and Apple. I would say 90%. And Tesla is not at that point, in my opinion. And in the next, I would say probably 3 years, it's going to become more and more clear on what Tesla is, and people are going to, quarter after quarter, people are going to gain more of a more understanding of Tesla. And I predict from this quarter on, at least for the next 6 quarters, it's going to be a record quarter every single quarter. Meaning they're going to set a new record with each quarter, with everything, with delivery, with revenue, with profit, with everything.
That's a big statement, even with COVID and the logistics issue, you think?
Yeah. The logistic issue, what people forget is that in 2020, Tesla was shut down. The whole factory was shut down. They weren't allowed to open for around a month or a month and a half. And they broke record in 2020. 2021, there was a huge logistic problem in the world, and they broke record. So this year, if anything, I expect them to break the record easier than past 2 years.
Okay.
And based on the analyst expectation of their delivery numbers this year for 2022, I think they're too low too. I can give a number on that, I guess. I'm expecting 1.7 million cars. That's not my, what do you call it? Like ideal case. That's my base case. I expect that as a minimum. But on average, I think analysts are expecting 1.4, 1.5. But even my low number is 1.7, much higher than theirs. Yeah, the last point is the long-term reason why I think people should pay attention to Tesla is Tesla is a lot more than just a car company. And it is going to affect everybody. Whether you're in stocks or not, whether you're even in business or not, it wouldn't matter. It will affect your life. Just like how the Industrial Revolution changed everybody's lives, just how when they invented the internet, it changes everybody's lives. I expect Tesla is going to change how everybody lives in maybe 10 years or 5 years even into the future. So, you know, when internet was invented, even if you didn't want to participate in internet, I mean, like if you didn't want to start a company or invest in internet, that's fine. But understanding internet will still be a big help to you, even if you're just a user of the internet. So over time, whether you like it or not, Tesla is going to affect how everybody lives, and get on and understand it earlier is going to benefit your life,
Is
no
this
matter who
because
you
of
are.
is this because of AI?
Oh, there's a lot of things. Yeah, AI is a big part of it. Self-driving is a big part of it. I think their ambition is underestimated.
I think that's fair to say in all of like tech companies who are trying to do big things.
No. Well, they were, like, for example, Amazon's ambition was underestimated.
Yeah.
Google, Apple, all of them. But the crazy part about Tesla is after Amazon developed like crazy for 10, 15 years, Jeff Bezos retired.
Hmm.
Right? He left Amazon right now. And Apple developed for 10, 15 years, and Steve Jobs died.
Hmm.
Right? Google's CEO left. And all of them are now, in my opinion, are profiting off of the genius back then they developed. They're not really innovating much today. Whereas for Tesla, they're at the point where Amazon, Google, and Apple were back then, but then there's a possibility that Elon Musk is going to stay on the company for another 10 to 15 years. And we're going to see, this is the first time ever, a long-term vision CEO that's very relentless in execution and pushing the company forward, that's going to stay in the same company for over 30 years. We've never seen this happen. And we don't know what will happen to a company if Steve Jobs stayed in Apple for another 10 years, and Jeff Bezos stayed in Amazon for another 10 years, and Larry Page stayed in Google for another 10 years. We don't know what would happen. From my perspective, maybe I might be wrong, but from my perspective is, since those visionary CEOs left the company stopped innovating and pushing for a big vision. Now they're just trying to maximize their profit
Yeah,
off of the same idea they had 10 years ago.
yeah. This was the biggest fear in Apple actually, was because Steve Jobs was the mastermind behind pushing that, like what you said earlier on his vision. So when the last product that he was working on together with the team release, no one's sure of where Apple's gonna go from there now.
Yeah, before Steve Jobs died, he was trying to build a city. He built a big building. I forgot what the building was called, but he said, I don't want there to be any corner on the building. So the whole building took like miles and miles of space, but then it's all rounded.
Yeah.
With all glass, and people can look this up. It looks pretty cool. But just give you an idea on the difference between having Steve Jobs on there and not having him. It's not just the phone. Oh, he makes the phone better or a little bit more better. No, he's like, imagine a whole different thing that's no one can think of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Tesla, where Tesla is at today.
Well, knock on wood, because then there's still lots of time between now and then that Elon will be a big part of Tesla's business.
Yeah, and I'm just, interested in seeing how this play out. It's very interesting to me, but I'm not saying, I don't have any insider information knowing that Elon Musk is stay on. It's possible, it's entirely possible that he says next year that, oh, I think Tesla is mature enough to run on its own. I'm going to go run SpaceX, and he resigns and he leaves Tesla too. But I'm just saying, if he does stay on, it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. And you would want to follow it every step of the way instead of missing out. Like how when internet first started, everybody was like, oh, internet's for nerds. That's nothing to do with me. But now everybody is trying to learn the internet, and whoever knows the internet better than others have a huge advantage. So, yeah.
Jeez.
Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. This podcast, like this particular episode, is so jam packed. Like, I felt like coming into this episode that I actually don't know too much about everything. But because I don't know too much about everything and how you explained it, I actually want to learn more about it so that the next time that we're on here, I can speak more on like the different topics that we talked about.
Yeah, both of us are gonna listen to the earnings call. And
Yeah,
we're gonna think
I'm
about
excited
it,
for that actually. Yeah.
and then we're gonna update for all of you what we think about it on the next episode. So then just last thing before we go. On episode 2, you asked me to recommend some YouTubers or some channels.
Yeah.
For stocks, I didn't. Now I'm back at it. I'm gonna recommend 3 YouTube channels for you.
Okay.
If you wanna keep up with stocks and Tesla. So the first one is called Tesla Daily. So he's a person who started a while back, 3-4 years ago. He sees a lot of misinformation about Tesla, and to clear the misinformation, he decided to release 1 video a day on all working days to give the most biased and objective information on Tesla. To me, he is the most unbiased and valuable information source for Tesla. So if you just want Tesla related information, go to his channel. And the second channel I recommend is Dave Lee on investing. He used Tesla as a tool. He talks about Tesla a lot, but then his focus is on teaching people how to think. And he does a lot of interviews with other people who think differently too. If I had a channel dedicated to investing, my channel probably look a lot like his. So I recommend him. The third channel I would recommend, it's not a channel, but it's ARK Invest. But for within ARK Invest, I specifically recommend a series called In the Know with Cathie Wood. She uploads once a month. There's like more different types of videos, but I actually don't recommend the others. Just In the Know with Cathie Wood.
Okay.
Yeah, because she can go kind of extreme with individual stocks that I don't agree with. So, but if you can keep your wits and don't get influenced too much and you want to take in that information, cool. But personally, I cannot condone it. But I recommend her In the Know. Every month, she talks about microeconomics for around 40 minutes. It's, at least to me, is the clearest, the most objective and forward-looking microeconomics updates there is on YouTube.
Yeah, she's a disruptor, that one.
Yeah. There's a bonus one, but this one is a book called One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. I think this is, out of the stocks book I've read, this is the best one for beginner stock investors. So if you just getting into stocks and you want to learn, you don't want to watch YouTube videos, you want to read book, read that book. And if you don't have time or don't want to listen to all those channels, you don't want to read the book, you just want a person who've watched all those channels and read all those books and to tell you what he thinks, come back to the New Normal podcast, I will let you know. Shameless plug.
Shameless self plug. Yeah, like Lee's not lying. He tells it as it is. This guy's on there 24/7. Like 4 o'clock in the morning, he's on there. 3 o'clock in the morning, he's on there. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he's on there.
Yeah, I cannot guarantee any of you that I will be right, but I can guarantee you I don't have any agenda in any of my analysis or prediction. I'm not trying to push any product on you, trying to sway you one way or the other. I don't have any interest in this.
Yeah. You just love this so much that you just want to share it.
Yeah, this is just one of the few things in life that I could talk about.
Guys, he talks about this 24/7. Like, it'd be nice for him to talk to other people about this instead of me.
You know how many other people wish they could hear? You ungrateful co-host.
No, I'm super grateful, actually. I learned so much.
Yeah,
that's why it's cool. That's why I think it's cool that we're doing this, because other people get to listen to it too, and spark their interest in something that you love so much.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I didn't want to do YouTube before, and I didn't want to talk about Tesla before, because I was like, there's so many good channels that give so much better information than me. Why would I go on and repeat what they say? But over the past few months, in talking about things on the podcast and watching other people's YouTube, it becomes clear to me that I have a different perspective than a lot of people. And even on the same perspective, the way I explain it is different. It's not necessarily better, but for people who understand the way I explain it better, at least it's an additional option for them to listen to, like, as opposed to a replacement. Before I thought, oh, like, how can I replace them? Why would they listen to me instead of them? But now I just think, why can't they listen to both if that gives them a better, more well-rounded perspective and help them to understand it better? Because that's what I do.
Yeah.
If I want to understand something better, I don't just go listen to one person. I listen to all the opinions I can find. That's quality. And even if they repeat the same thing, every time they say something, and when they put it in a different way, it actually hits me different. So
yeah. Some people just want to hang out, they just want to hang out with us.
Like you?
I just want to hang out with us,
Yeah.
I want other people to hang out with us too.
Yeah.
Podcast form.
Okay. Any last thoughts?
Okay. No, actually, I don't for this one. I just look forward to the next few ones. And I kind of look forward to the UFC ones, surprisingly. I know I watch UFC. Some people don't know that I do that now. So, yeah, I want to talk more about UFC.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting journey to follow along. The ups and the downs with everything. But even UFC, there's like a lot of storylines and good fights coming up, ups and downs. Yeah. Not only the fights, but then the stories behind the fighters.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting ones, is like the actual stories of the fighters. Like, everyone from different walks of life are in UFC, and like just their come up. Oh, it's just so inspiring.
And how UFC is gonna evolve too, because 3 years ago, they were a different thing than today, and they just made a deal with crypto.com. They're going to come out with their own NFTs. That's interesting to see how they're going to work with that. And then they're going to, also Dana White said he's going to create a metaverse around UFC, where in the future, you can just sit in your home, buy a ticket, wear a goggle, sit in a virtual seat and watch the fights ringside. So that's pretty.
Yeah, that's interesting, but also like I don't know how many years off we are from that still. Because like even now with a like virtual like I just don't see many adopters to this stuff just yet. So maybe early adopters, but like we'll see.
Yeah.
So anyways, change is coming, change is constant. And having said that, don't be normal, be yourself. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.